the themes, the concepts. But like when you're judging, what is standing out as difficulty for you? I want both to answer, obviously. We can start with Ramona.
I truly honestly feel that all the top 5 teams in every single organization or competition would still be the same.
That's when you know you hit the jackpot. That you don't have to know the theme.
Hey, my name is Kyle Rush, and you are watching the No Counts Given podcast.
That is what I'm most nervous about. Just like Ramona said, just like you said, Kyle, I'm nervous that all of these other teams that love to kind of chase the new thing, looking for the next big spectacular thing, which is going to be back tucks and all that good stuff, is they're going to forget about what's important, and that is POM fundamentals, which I talked about a lot in the last podcast, and it still stands true. We have to lean into the artistry of POM, and that's all there is to it. So
yeah,
that's how I felt.
I need to call this episode the Palmcast.
Yeah,
that's like right on beat with it. We're gonna have a Palmcast every quarter of the year.
I love it.
Well, I feel like people are really looking for. They're always like, "What are judges looking for in POM?" I feel like people really just don't know. And honestly, there's no magic formula. It's just the whole routine. Judges are trained to take apart everything. Ramona and I were just talking about this. Transitions are so important. Like, you have to break down the routine where the audience just sees the spectacularness of the routine and the wows and the energy. And where I, as a judge, I'm like, wow, that whole entire routine was at a 10. There was so much intensity. There was never anything that was, there was no contrast. Like, give me those moments of breath. Give me that tempo change. Give me the pace changes. I don't know. There's so much more that judges look for that aren't really the audience doesn't see or even pay attention to.
Shan brought up something really interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of recently, I taught a class to young choreographers, and I had this idea. I'm going to just throw it out there to my judging friends. What advice would you give to new choreographers? What do what's your favorite thing to look for? What's your bugaboo? It was the most eye-opening thing. I had about 8 different answers from all different judges. Every single judge said their, pet peeve or what they really don't see that they'd like to see more of, all came across as transition work.
It's the biggest indicator for me. Yeah.
The tuck and run.
The tuck and run. That's what I called it. Ramona asked me that question. I'm like, transitions.
All 8.
Yeah. I mean, nothing should die.
And I thought, they're going to think I planned this, that I planted it. And I didn't. It was all the way around. So transitional work is cool.
I want to ask, though, because, right on that transitional work, because I'm the same way. Like, when I watch routines, it's always the transitions that are going to like pique my interest and like keep me engaged. I was scrolling on TikTok the other day, and I came across a video of a girl, like, she was saying her like do's and don'ts or something like that for dance. And she said, not everyone has to dance to formation. And that kind of threw me for a loop. Would you think that, like, should we be dancing to every formation? Should all formations have some kind of movement included to them? For POM specifically. Exactly. I'm like,
I feel that sorry, Ramona, jump in whenever, but I feel for POM, you can't ever let it artistically die, in a sense. Like, you have to have that transitional movement. I don't know. There's that visual hierarchy in that intention and that staging clarity. It just lands those moments. I feel like they can't find the musicality when they just tuck and run. Like, you're just releasing all of those points, and you're letting go of all of those nuances that you could use to really elevate your routine. So I think transitions to me are a huge differentiator for me. So Ramona, what do you think?
In defense of the gal, I think there are times in regular dance that aesthetically it may be, running. You got there could be thematically
Oh, yeah.
things that it makes sense, right? But when you're talking specifically to palm, do you have to be actively dancing through transitions? No, but should you be using your equipment? Yes. And when you're tucking and running, no. And so then it becomes more the hierarchy in terms of difficulty starts going, well, are you using your upper body in your transitional work? So at least you're using the palms for something, right? Or if you can dance and you're utilizing your upper and lower body in through the formation work, now it's even more difficult. So you're showing more and more sophistication the more you build through those transitions.
DTU has officially launched their annual Road to Nationals contest to provide an opportunity to earn funding towards your Nationals experience. DTU's motto, "We're here for you," continues their commitment to supporting teams. This is the first of many opportunities DTU has set in place to make your Nationals journey smoother in the DTU For You initiative. So check out how you can enter by visiting danceteamunion.com.
Sharpen Up Dance Team Training, a proud sponsor of the No Counts Given podcast, will host its summit event in Fountain Hills, Arizona on July 24 through 26, 2026. This is more than a dance event. This is your recruitment launchpad. Train at the collegiate level and connect directly with college coaches through structured meet and greet rotations. Every dancer is seen. Every college is heard. New this year? Golden Access Day, an exclusive experience for seniors with more one-on-one time, live evaluations, and increased visibility. We cap recruiters at 24 programs for a more personal, high-quality experience. Registration includes parent passes, a swag bag, specialized sessions, and a Sharpen Up movement band. Spots are limited. Register now at sharpenupdtt.com. Sharpen Up Summit. Go for the gold.
Yeah. I wanna dive into team sizes because I know recently I had a podcast with some coaches, and one of the coaches, Nia, who actually sent us a message from Instagram, we'll get to probably at the end of the podcast. Her team Ascension, they compete small. Now, should team size really matter when you're looking at a score sheet? Because if you're like a small team, let's say for DTU, and I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I'm gonna say 5 to 11. Visually, that team of 11 could be more visually appealing. Is there a way that a team of 5 could compete with that team of 11?
I'll take that one step higher. Anyone who yeah, I got really inspired watching ICU Worlds. Are you guys familiar with the silver medalists? Our duo that competed, that
Oh, our
represented, it was a
duo
duo
for
for
Palm?
Palm. I
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
the visuals, the incorporating a good theme, the athleticism, I I was so impressed, and in that moment I'm like, I don't think I'm going to let people off the hook for visuals anymore just because they're small teams. It can absolutely be done. You have to think it through. Do you have the mass effect of the palm and the equipment? Yes. But in my mind, I kind of dial into what they're giving us and where they're at, regardless of whether it's a team of
Yeah.
28 or a smaller team. I really try. What do you think, Shan?
Well, so coming from a team that was always small, pitted against small and large here with Millard West and Millard North. Obviously, I was the coach and choreographer for Millard West. I always felt going up against Millard North, which they're fantastic, and I love their program. I love their coaches. Um, I always thought at a time when I was a little bit more immature as a coach that, well, it's not fair. We can't go up against these numbers. But as I started to mature as a choreographer and as a coach, I let that go. And especially now that I've transitioned in my tenure into judging, that means nothing to me. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember at DTU last year in the battles, that
Yeah.
this is hip hop,
Yep.
not pom, but still
Pasco.
that team of like
Pasco.
4 or 5,
Pasco.
Kyle, it was a
Pasco.
bloodbath up at the judges. We were fighting because some wanted the big team that, you know, was just like that, whatever. It was
Yeah.
big versus small, and half of us were for the small team. I felt like they really brought the energy with the crowd. So honestly, that has never been anything that is as a judge for me personally. And I feel like judges should be trained to not let that affect them. The only thing I can say for a larger team, it's harder for them to really pack in all those visuals. A lot of their stuff is lines because there's so many on the floor. It's hard to move throughout. And secondly, I mean, the only advantage is they could hide things a little bit more as far as cleanliness and, you know, execution. You can't really hide a thing as a small team. But I feel that if you are sticking true what POM truly is, like I look at that POM score sheet and those captions, and I am looking for exactly what they are asking me to, because every organization is different.
Yeah.
So it's not, well, I would like to see this in POM. It is, what are they asking me to look for? So if judges just, or I'm sorry, if coaches and choreographers just study that score sheet for the organization they are participating in, they can't go wrong. But you really have to like translate it into the routine.
Don't you feel, Shan, it's almost like a little bit of
Ramona,
a trade-off? I mean, the larger team that you get in the subcaption of unity, it becomes more and more difficult. And maybe even spacing, it becomes more and more difficult. Once you're smaller, that unity and maybe the offsets, maybe, I think there's a really good chance that there are things that are much more difficult to get clarity of style, to get unity, to get synchronization across a whole bunch of individual dancers to dance as one, as opposed to a team of 6 to 8. So the bottom line is, I'd like to encourage small teams not to worry about it too much, to not get in their heads about we're small and we can't, because at least from a judging standpoint, I feel like I don't let it affect me. It's what they're giving me, and did they maximize what they could do with that given choreography.
Yeah, no kidding.
Completely.
I feel like Shan, I kind of went through that same, as I started maturing, I just stopped caring. And it was like, for example, like this year I had my senior POM team competed at All-Star Worlds. My poor girls, it's a team of 9 competing against Team Mexico, who's like 25 on the floor. And, you know, even the coaches that are actually coaching the team now, I'm just a choreographer for them. They're like, Kyle, how do we do, like, there's so many of them. How do we do that? And I'm like, you just go out and you put the routine that I gave you on the floor and compete it and make it competable, and you could compete against them. Like, they didn't win, but they got close.
That's exactly right. No, but that's exactly right, Kyle. I mean, if you go out there with a routine and you're a team of 4 and you stay right here in center the whole time, then obviously you're not going to capture all those points. But no, you can make it happen. Put every single thought of doubt that you being small out the window, and magic happens. Truly. I'm such an old school person in the whole UDA dance team DTU world. I've been around for a long time, and I'll never forget this little team from Brentwood, Tennessee. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting their names right now. I can't even tell you, like maybe 2003. They came out and there was 5 of them in jazz back then when it was just small and large, and they won it all.
Wow.
I haven't seen them for a long time, but I think it was Brentwood. It might have been Brentwood. Either way. Yeah. It was incredible. And when they first came out, we're like, oh, poor girls. And then we're all like, oh, no, they're going to win.
That's kind of the way I felt about Pasco. When they came out, I was like, when they came out at the battles, I was like, aw. And then I was like, aw.
Me too. I was like, but you know what? Pasco specifically, like, they dance like they have 20 on the floor. Like, the impact that they make on the stage is quite impressive. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or should say this, but that routine I was just talking about, it blends into the next question. Ramona actually judged, and it was very funny. I was listening to our audio critiques, and Ramona told us to throw away our last turn combination, our last 2 8 counts of turns. It was like the last 4 8 counts of the routine, she said, "We could add something better here, more visually." My girls woke up at 8 a.m. and we changed those last 2 8 counts. And I'll tell you, it jumped on
Oh,
the
I just
score
had
sheet.
chills.
It really reflected on the score sheet. Those kids worked so hard for us. I'm very blessed for them. However, difficulty versus clean. Where does difficulty lie? We go so much into difficulty is those acro elements, the turn combinations, how long the turn combinations could go on for. But like when you're judging, what is standing out as difficulty for you? I want both to answer, obviously. We could start with Ramona.
Oh boy, I'm looking at now there are score sheets that call out advanced jazz skills. Like for example, here in Arizona, it calls it out. So we got to follow
Yeah.
that score
Yes.
sheet. But if we're talking about nationally and the organizations that don't, so all the biggies, NDA, USA. Well, in USA, it's baked in the cake, right? You already know based on what level you're in, what level advanced jazz skills or acro that you're allowed to do in each division.
Mhm.
D2, all the national ones, no one calls out the difficulty, attempted difficulty of advanced jazz skills or acro. To me, difficulty specific to POM, phrase development, transitional work, tempo, both the difficulty of even the chosen soundtrack. There can be inherent difficulty, especially in POM, if they go with 3/4 timing as opposed to regular 4/4 timing. Taking their POMs through all the different geometric forms, how they go in terms of the articulation of the POM movement. For me, there's so much more, and I'm looking at all of that through every phrase. That's
Yeah.
difficulty for me.
Yeah. What about you, Shan?
Well, obviously, it's honestly a tough question because obviously the difficulty lies
Sure.
in the skill set, such as
Yeah.
turns, leaps, acro skills. However, you have to have so much more than that. You can't just, again, Texas Tech, you can't just win based off of difficulty. Not like they did that.
Yeah.
They threw everything else. They had the kitchen sink in there.
Oh,
Their
yeah.
routine was outstanding and they danced it well and their motion work was their placement, everything was impeccable. Um, for me, I feel like difficulty lies in the musicality. I mean, I feel like musicality again is becoming one of the greatest separators of teams.
Mm.
Can those dancers hear that texture, those accents, the silence, the layers, the rhythm changes, hearing that tension and release? Not only can they hear it, but are they doing it? Even in Palm, I mean, I feel like the top teams do this really well. You know, they understand you can't attack every count with the same intensity. All of that is so difficult to me in Palm because it's really easy to just do the same thing. I want to bring up a point. I had a choreographer reach out to me. I'm sorry, a coach. And she's like, we keep getting low on our difficulty. And this is Palm, but we're doing all the turns, we're doing all the leaps, we're doing all that stuff. So she just wanted to add in more turns, more leaps. And I said, go through your routine and count how many high V's you have, count how many low V's you have, count how many T's, all the basic palm motions. She's like, oh my God, we have 37 high V's, 15. Like she hadn't even thought, which is great. That's why I consult, you know? And I'm like, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to change some of these high V's to, you know, behind the head, whatever. Get difficult in your palm motion work. And her scores just like you said, Kyle, you redid the last 2 8 counts and her scores were reflecting that.
Mm-hmm.
In palm, you have to have the difficulty in motion. So start with the basics to start your routine and then start messing with them once the dancers get more comfortable with that routine, then start messing with them. Put in those and counts, put in the and counts, you know, take it to the next level.
You just piqued my...
Yeah. One team that I feel...
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just
gonna say one team that I feel is I'm on like a slight lag. I'm not sure why. It's not usually like this, but I'll say really quick. One team I feel really pushes musicality is Minnesota. Like I feel like I don't see musicality like Minnesota does, and I feel like that's one reason why they really stand out, especially at UDA, is because their difficulty is, their musicality is so different amongst the rest of competitors. Go ahead, Ramona.
Oh, along those same lines, I just had a light bulb moment in terms of the difficulty of incorporating unique palm work in an advanced jazz skill. What they're doing with their arms,
Mm,
Ohio State did this so beautifully this past year, and what they're doing with their turns with their palms, so difficult.
yes.
And the timing of that and the unity of that is so, so difficult. It's difficult enough to do the skill itself with just the regular arms and second or, all of that. So,
Yeah.
that's another place if to learn where within our advanced skills that we
Yeah.
are doing, what can we do to make it more visually appealing and difficult in terms of the equipment used during that skill?
Yeah. Were you guys a fan of Ohio's turn combination? You guys liked it?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did. They can do
No?
no wrong to me.
Okay.
You
I
did.
agree. I love
I
some
did.
Ohio, but that I felt like it got too messy for my eyes. I couldn't digest it anymore after once they got into them Sinead turns. I was like, I don't. It went south for me. But that's the only thing I got to say. Love Ohio. Everyone knows that. I'm gonna get attacked for it anyways. But yeah.
I you know
Yeah, I'm trying not to choose sides this time around.
Me too.
I just what they
Yeah.
give us, and if it's a little messy to the eye there, then I keep that in mind in terms of
Yeah.
the unity or sync wherever it seems to fall, whether it's timing or the clarity of style.
Yeah.
But I thought it made sense, and I think what happens when we
Yeah.
start, and I suspect, Kyle, what you're talking about, when we start pushing the tempo to such high levels, I feel like for lack of
Yep.
it's such a cliche term, but I feel I get overstimulated a little bit. Let us digest.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Thank-
And
Yeah, this is what
yeah,
I always say, Kyle, is in Ramona. I always say that I'm always looking for readable excellence. If
Mm,
your audience or your judges can't absorb what is happening, then all those effects are getting diluted. So that is something that I've said several times on an audio critique. And I felt that way. Minnesota's, it was so readable. I mean, every
yeah.
transition was so intentional. Now their program is stacked. So it makes it a little bit harder for, let's just say, high school teams where you can't quite take the back row and have them come around to the front. So they can have those beautiful, seamless, continuous flow of transitions in Palm that just make it so easy and enjoyable to read and watch. It's easy on the eye, as we say sometimes, Ramona. And that just makes everything so much more enjoyable. So you do have to get really creative sometimes, and it tends to be choppy because you don't have the talent that these teams have to be able to just do all that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
They're Ohio this year, it reminded me of I don't remember what year this was, but Energizers a few years ago did this turn combination where they traveled in their second turns to like a new formation.
yep.
And I watched it and I was like, yeah, that's fun. It's creative, but it completely removed the technique side of those second turns. They ended up winning worlds, I think it was that year. But I I know that my opinion's not the popular opinion. I read all the comments on TikTok and I know people love that turn combination. I wanna I wanna jump in really quick though. This was a big conversation, our last one, and I can't even tell you the amount of times people have asked me this question. The themes, the concepts.
As a coach, I think that dance is evolving, and I don't know if the competition world and industry is pushing to get the change. This is how it's done. This is our protocol. This is what we do.
The industry is lacking creativity. The story that was always told to us is, well, it's been this way for many years.
We want your money. We want your team. Here's your box. We don't want you to do any more.
Certainly organizations didn't appreciate my kids and didn't allow them to grow. I'd always felt like they'll just replace you with another team. Like an abusive relationship, the cycle needed to end.
ATU is setting the tone for what the path forward should be.
Even though it was scary, it was the right choice to make the jump. I saw weight lifted off of my kids and they felt hungry again.
We are like a complete 180 of a program.
Because of Dance Team Union's philosophy, everyone in the school has more respect for the dance team.
From registering for camp all the way through the nationals.
DTU is going to support you
and make your program better. What do you need? What can we do for you? How can we help your dancers?
They build us up as coaches and they're like, go out there and just do your job.
That was us. That is the best you've ever done.
Anyone that comes into the DTU family will feel that they have a personal relationship with the DTU staff.
At the end of nationals, I get a phone call from somebody and we have an honest conversation.
Very transparently, we love this, we don't love this.
And I'm heard.
There is so much freedom
with music and costuming,
choreography rules.
They want you to go out there and be the boldest team that you can be.
When I think about what we have now that we didn't before, it's a voice.
What those kids really can do is so much more than what you see on a sideline. It's their time to shine.
They feel like the stars of the show.
They were seen and respected and empowered.
That's going to give you that push to go out there and perform a little bit bigger. That's where you see breakthrough.
Give the people what they want.
If you want phenomenal communication.
If you're sick of your dancers not being heard.
If you're serious about change, be part of the change.
Break the mold. We're not in a box. We can be bold and we can be ourselves.
Be you. It's one of the best decisions that I've made as a dance coach.
I'm so happy to be here right now.
A lot of people are still asking about those themes and concepts. So let's return to that conversation because I mean, today, even when I posted on my story, ask me questions you want to know, I had about 10 DMs that were like, the themes, you got to ask about the themes. Where are we at with the themes this year? How are we feeling? Because we see a lot of themed routines winning. We see a lot of them winning. What's going on?
Yeah. I lose this battle because I personally, somebody said something to me that cracked me up, and I know I'm probably going to get heat for this, but I didn't say it. I was just simply an observer, but I did laugh. Somebody said, listen, I don't need you teaching me a life lesson while you're doing a tea. And I was like, okay, that was funny. Because it's like, you know, you can handle those like emotional moments and life lessons when it's jazz or when it's like a really strong hip hop, but when you're trying to hit a high V and you're like talking about like something that's like emotional, it doesn't match to me.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of funny. Again, I did not say it, but I did find it interesting. I just personally, again, a beautifully understated theme I love, or a really creative theme that I haven't seen before. But I guess what I talk about is the teams that do the same thing every year, just change the palm color. You don't even know what the music is because it's the same beat laid behind every single track. I mean, I need the ebbs and flows. I need to hear the real song. I need to see those pace changes and all that tempo come through. All those different tempos come through. I don't know. I always say to teams that I go into, if you were listening to the same beat as you're driving in your car on a road trip, you would eventually fall asleep.
Yeah.
You know, like
no kidding.
You need, so I always say, give us something else, slow it down, give us the original song or, you know, whatever. Just take away that backbeat that makes that continuum. Cause it really, I have no clue what's even out. What you spend, okay, as a judge, you spend the 3 minutes trying to figure out what their theme is. Yeah. I'd rather just enjoy the dance.
No kidding. No kidding.
So I am alone in this sometimes. So I'm sorry to everybody. Now, do I let it bias me when I'm judging? No, I judge strictly what you bring, but I don't love it. I can say that.
Yeah. No kidding.
Ramona?
I don't.
I know Ramona wants to add.
No. I'm much more aligned with Shan than she probably thinks. If all the other pieces are in place, and so say we're just talking about artistry or choreography scores, so take out everything else. I don't feel like, well, just to circle back around, like you said, Shan, the artistry can come from so many other places besides having a theme. But once you commit to a theme, just throwing it in a song and starting out your first couple of phrases with "this is our phrase" and then leaving it behind and never addressing it again, that is almost a bigger artistic error, in my opinion. If you're going to do a theme, do it. And if it's going to impact the movement quality to stay consistent, I'm thinking this one I saw was, She Blinded Me by Science, and they had the lab coats on, and it was a very well put together routine, but you got to stick with it. You got to stay with the character. You got to bring it to life, and the palm work still has to be palm work. To be real honest, I don't remember with that particular, because it's been done a few times, so I'm not calling any particular program out. But I think that's the key. It's not to theme or not to theme. It's once you do it, you better connect to it. You better have full buy-in from the entire team, because if there's people that feel silly about it, the people that aren't into it or even don't understand it, that comes across in the performance, comes across in their stage presence, their showmanship, and it'll reflect in the artistry score as well. So no, do I have to have a theme? But to just have all the different really high driving palm beats where it just stays that's where I absolutely agree with Shan. So, yeah, that's how I feel about it. I'm not, we're on the same page.
It's hard to, Well, I will say my favorite routine from DTU this year was a theme, palm, but boy, they had all the motion work. That's what I mean. Like, bring a theme, that's fine. But like Ramona said, you got to have all the makings of a great palm routine. I could care less about your theme. But those girls that came out, I can't remember their name, but they were puppeteers. They were dolls. You guys remember it?
That was Rockford Palm.
Yeah, it was Rockford. Yeah.
Oh, that was so good.
I could be wrong.
But
No, not
that's
Rockford.
because their
Not Rockford.
palm was so good.
It wasn't Rockford.
Yeah, who
it
was it?
They were large. It's gonna bother me.
Was it Rochester?
I think I know which one you're talking about. No. Okay, maybe it was Rockford. I think they started the routine and they just like fell on the floor and just laid there for a second.
Yes.
Yes, I know which one you're talking about. Maybe it was Rockford Palm.
That routine was. I don't know. But that team. So if anybody's questioning themes, go watch a routine like that, because they had all the other elements that you want. It wasn't just all right. You just know those teams that sat down and said, okay, this year we're going to say our team is go and we're going to use green palms. And then next year, like, it's Barbie and we're going to use pink palms. You know what I mean? I need something more than that. Make sure the routine has everything else.
Yeah. I want to add, I think one misunderstanding that I saw a lot this year is that teams took our conversation very literal and decided we're not even going to have any concept in the music alone. So then they're dancing to tracks that have clear moments where they could start building a phrase or building a wow moment, building creativity in the song. But then that musicality wasn't used alone. They're giving us a high V, low VT to a dagger. And so I think that was one thing that was really misunderstood. Like, you still got to use your music. You still got to dance to the track that you're given. And I think that's where a lot of teams didn't build the routines around, or I guess I shouldn't say teams, I'm blaming it on the choreographers. The choreographers didn't build their routines there. So I think that's one thing that I really noticed on the themes. I feel like people struggle with this year by year, trying to figure out what the next big theme or concept is going to be. I think college is doing a good job of directing that alone and starting to show like a lot of these high school and all-star teams, like, how to actually use the music you're given. I just feel like we're not seeing that trend to trickle down yet. Some we are, like the top teams we'll see start doing that. My favorite routine this year was actually Dakota Palm. Their themed routine. I don't know what the theme was, but the movement, the music, everything tied into it so well. And that was probably one of my favorite routines watching Palm this year.
One of my favorite.
Yeah, no,
one of my favorite recent favorite routines was
Go ahead, Ramona.
Rochester with the Twilight Zone. I thought it was
Mm,
a excellent soundtrack. And the thing that was kind of cool about it was they didn't have to commit to any type of character, but each phrase was really well done in keeping with this futuristic, kind of scary, kind of space like, all the things. I thought they did a great job with that. I mean,
yeah.
there's always some risk in execution. They had some little costumey issues when it came to the battles. I don't know if it was in finals, but um so you can
Mhm.
still pull off a great theme and not necessarily have to change who you are as a team. I guess that's what I think Rochester does very, very well in terms of that. I think that routine would have done well across all sorts of venues. I think that's when you know you got hit the sweet spot, that you don't look at it and say, oh, well, that's a great UDA routine, or oh, that's a great DTU routine, or a great all star routine. I think if you know it resonates across platforms, you've hit the sweet spot. Now, do you absolutely want to pay attention to each and every sub caption so you can maximize it? Absolutely. But I'm talking about globally in terms of the choreography. I think any routine has the possibility of doing very, very well across all three if you just listen to fundamentals and staying true to your team and authenticity and making it memorable. Boom.
Yeah. No
Well,
kidding.
something else I always too along these lines, Kyle, you hit on it with the music, that I always say again in my audios is the music has to write the movement. And so what happens is choreographers love this song or they put together the track and then they start or they choreograph beforehand and then try to find music that matches it. I don't know. They're just not listening to musicality is it for all of us. I feel like we did a whole entire training on two different organizations that I'm in for judging that was just plain musicality. And I know it's been a big deal for a while.
I think
Oh,
he
did
was
we lose
frozen
Kyle?
for a while, actually.
I am back. I am so
Hello.
sorry. I don't know
That's
what
okay.
happened. Okay. However, give
You're
me.
much clearer now. You were kind of
Oh, am
fuzzy
I?
before. Yeah.
Okay. I have a Wi-Fi extender in my office, so it was connected on my like actual Wi-Fi way in the living room. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna go run over there and make sure it's fine because it usually that's never happened to me before. So give me
Okay.
1 second, really, really quick.
Before we continue on with the show, make No Counts Given your go-to summer dance podcast. We're talking industry interviews, routine highlights, hot topics, blind items, and all the dance news you need to know. Whether you're on your way to practice, headed to camp, driving to your next choreography job, or just need to hear a relatable voice in the dance world, we've got you covered all summer long. So do me a favor, subscribe, like, leave us a 5-star rating, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss a single episode.
All right. Yeah, we're fine. Where even were we? All right. I'm pretty sure we were on the topic of themes and
Yeah.
concepts. Were we?
And I would also like to say something along that, just again, being a former choreographer and coach, is I used to just do my own thing as a choreographer and always just did what I felt the team could handle. They kind of directed me. We all chose the music together. We just did our own thing. We lived in our little bubble. And then out of nowhere, we won nationals. And I was like, wow, we can actually win nationals. It was way back in the day, you know, when it was the same teams winning. We never thought we were the first Nebraska team to break through. And then after that, I was really started getting creative. I was like, yeah, I'm going for it. And one year I saw on my score sheet, it said, this is not hip hop. Please don't bring this again. And
I'm
it
happy you brought that up.
crushed me. Yes, it crushed me that I saw that on my score sheet from a judge and I didn't recover, basically. That was we did like a Rihanna, like a lyrical to Love the Way You Lie. And we got almost won, got second place to Carlsbad. And then the very next year, I was really pushing the envelope. And I did a really cool remix of In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel for hip hop. And I thought it was so artistic. Nowadays, it would score well. But back then, it was not welcomed.
Yeah.
And I was crushed as a choreographer, and I could say it took me years. So then the next year I was like, fine, I'm just gonna choreograph in this bubble that they want, and I'll go strictly by the score sheet. And we never placed in the top 5 after that because I was so like kind of pushed down as a choreographer from that one comment. It just like really bruised. Maybe it was an ego thing, I don't know, but I struggled for many years after that because I never wanted to, that comment hurt me so bad.
Yeah. Is
So yeah.
I was just gonna say, I feel like we see that a lot now. Like we see the blending of styles into Palm. We see hip hop elements in Palm. We see the jazz elements in Palm. I think Ramona, you brought up a great point earlier. Like, how can you still bring the tradition back to the style? So making the Palm visual still there, or the Palm motion still accurate, or whatever the case is. Have you guys been noticing that as well too? Like this, I see it.
Mhm.
I feel like hip hop, especially, like we're starting to see that more feel of hip hop in Palm. How do you guys
Mhm.
feel about that now?
Hey, whatever their movement quality is going to be, they should embrace it. If they're kind of a more of a hip hop
Mm,
movement quality type of team, absolutely, they should lean into it. I don't feel like there has to be this one movement quality of athletic palm to work. They
yeah,
whatever their like I said, whatever their authentic style is. If they're a Latin team, if
mm,
they're I've seen a lot of New Mexico teams recently really lean into Day of the Dead and all that kind of really cool stuff.
yeah.
And I'm not talking about thematically, I'm talking about movement quality. I'm totally, if they do it again and they commit to it and it's authentic, then absolutely they should, that's how they elevate their own program. Chan?
Yeah, yeah, no kidding.
I love all the stuff. I love people bringing in new things all the time. My biggest thing is when you're out there, you're okay, when you're a coach and you're looking at your routine as a whole, scale it back to the details of Palm. And if you have those perfected, do whatever the heck you want with anything
No
else.
kidding.
Just get those palm motions, make sure they're unique, make sure they're creative, make sure they're not basic high V's, low V's, T's, half T's, K's. There's Ohio did such a good job 2 or 3 years ago bringing in a lot of, like, everybody does behind the head now. That
Yeah,
is a nod to Carson in Ohio. She's the one that started those. Like, there's so much you can do with palm. There's so many different angles, and you can get so creative, and we just stick with the basics. So dial back. I kind of always thought when I was the coach and choreographer, I always used like Project Runway. Like, remember when they would like get their outfit ready and they'd say, okay, now edit it.
yeah,
Edit it. You can throw everything on it, but then step back and edit it. You don't need to have every bell and whistle in there. Just if your palm is golden, you will do well. If you lack on the palm, you're not going to do well. And that is like the bottom line,
Yep.
right?
Don't bring us
yeah.
a
I
jazz or a
agree.
hip hop routine with palms in your hands. It's so cliche, and we say it ad nauseum, and that's not necessarily the message. Instead they're thinking we want theme versus non-theme. Just don't do a boiled down routine with the palms in your hands. Purpose and intention all throughout from beginning to end.
Amen. Amen. How do we feel about styles and the brands? Like, I feel like when we look at any conversation you have, people are going to say NDA prefers this, and DTU prefers the themes, and UDA prefers the full team back tucks. Should that is that alive in our world? And because I'm going to be honest with you, I feel like this year I saw NDA teams really take a different route in choreography and direction, and like it's starting to see maybe they're starting to reward the traditional side a little bit more. But I mean, why does that live in our world of Palm?
Feel like we should have organizations that prefer different things because it's a space for everybody.
Mm,
If we all look like UDA, then we'd all go to UDA. If we all want a DTU style, then every team would go to DTU. I don't know. I prefer that you can choose where you feel you best fit,
mm,
right? That's why DTU and NDA and all these were created. Maybe not NDA back in the day, but I feel that's definitely why DTU was created. It's
yeah,
just another avenue for you if you don't do what UDA is asking. You know, the score sheets are definitely different for a reason and for a purpose. So I think that's okay that they're all
Here's
asking different things and that they're kind of pigeonholed, I guess you
here's the
will.
interesting
Yeah,
thing though,
okay.
right? And this is where we've got to, I'm one of those data-driven nerds. Look at the UDAs. I mean, I'm in agreement with you, Shan. It's a marketplace and people should go to where they feel like who they are gets rewarded, right? Or where they feel most in line with. But let's get real about the score sheets. UDA is 50-50, artistic to technical. And DTU is 67% execution and technique. It's only 33. It's only a third artistry. As much as we want to say we reward artistry, which we do. I mean, I feel to me, it's about risk taking. In my little brain, in terms of DTU, I really love the fact that culturally the risk taking can be rewarded. Don't be afraid. Where you're not going to get the comments from a DTU judge, hopefully. Like Shan said, don't ever bring this again. That if that happened in that circuit, I'd be heartbroken. I'd be like, well, where'd you come out of, you know?
Yeah, me
But
too.
that being said, this idea that one leans more artistically and one leans more technical in execution, you know, I think UDA
Yeah,
is
I
much more
agree.
likely to really go on a very thematic, not well organized. You know, they will
Yes.
not even make it to the middle with something that's very milk toast. Whereas you might get a little bit more credit in a D2 circuit for something like that for the risk taking. But, you know, not that unless you bring the whole package, you're not going to be successful in any of the circuits. So.
But what does that say about the artistic direction for DTU's score sheet and Palm? Should it be a 50-50 or should it be the other way around and we need to reward artistry 65%?
I think the score sheet.
Is that a spicy
I'm
question?
such a traditional, it's a spicy, because I'm such a traditional palm girl. So I tend again to go away from the themey, more thematic. I'm always the outlier, Kyle. You should know that up at that judges table. I'm like, so I am more of a traditional person. What I do love is I do love a split score sheet. I can tell you as a judge, it is hard to really hone into 12 or 13 or 10 or 15 different captions and get them all right. And that's, I'm just freely admitting that because you have to focus on so much so quickly that I love when, I mean, even for some DTU like Arizona, we judge Arizona State, it's DTU like sponsored and ran. They supply all the judges and it's a split score sheet. I love it because I can just focus on choreography and I can just focus on execution rather than trying to hit everything. It's really hard as a judge to do it all. It truly is. I love the division so you can just focus.
I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with group score sheets, meaning ones that where you do everything versus the specialized artistic choreography versus execution. On one hand, I love to be able to give a lot more meat on the bone in my feedback and really think through only 5 subcaptions as opposed to 10 or fill in the blank, however many. I love that. That being said, I know I became a better judge 10, 15 years ago when I was forced into having to do it all. Because I had self-identified as the artistic judge and just kind of, you know, rewarding what I saw artistically and choreographically speaking and not paying attention to technique or execution at all when I was forced into that. And especially as I'm getting older and getting more removed from the athletic technology that goes into training technique, I had to get a lot better quicker, more quickly. So on that end, I'm thankful for a whole score sheet. But when I can, I love a specialized score sheet too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kyle, back to your comment about, or your question, I guess, about the three entities. Let's just say UDA, NDA. Let's throw USA in there as well, and DTU. One thing I will say about all that is I truly, honestly feel that all the top five teams in every single organization or competition would still be the
Yeah.
same across the board. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
they're all so good in their own right that if they transferred over to UDA, and obviously if you brought UDAs over to DTU, I think they would all still score really, really high. I think it's the best of the best, no
I
matter
agree.
which competition.
For
Yeah.
sure. I agree. Okay, let's get into some fun questions, some that were sent to me to ask you guys. What
Oh, I'm
what
so
would you
nervous.
say is your most underrated palm routine this season? Any routines that you think didn't get enough love?
Oh, I've got one.
I
Ooh.
have one.
I have two
Uh,
actually.
I want to throw
Okay, you
mine
guys
out
go
there.
first.
I'm gonna throw mine out there. Uh, Mine is Linmar Palm. Linmar Palm this year I felt like did not get the justice they deserved, but that's just my one. Go ahead,
I felt
Ramona.
that way last year about Linmar Palm.
Oh, last year's routine was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
My
Go ahead,
my
Ramona.
brain is on so much overload because for some reason, I think after your podcast, Kyle, that's all I get assigned to now is palm. So there's so much data in there. There were two teams that I felt one didn't get enough love for their technique and one didn't get enough love for their artistry. The one for technique, and how clean and how well they did it was Montana, and the artistry was Central Michigan.
Mm.
And I thought, yeah,
Mm.
and I remember saying to myself, I'm wondering how I knew they were the top two teams. I felt it in my bones that they were the top two teams. But I said, I'm real curious if the score sheet is going to manifest the outcome. And it did. Because Montana did more of a more technically and well executed routine as opposed to it was very well choreographed, but it wasn't themey like Central Michigan. And that's how it landed. So it goes. I don't
Yeah.
know if people see a lesson in that or not, or whether they should see a lesson in that or not. But I felt like,
I'm sure they're gonna find a way to get a
yeah,
lesson out of it.
you don't you do you is the lesson, please. Don't leave here going, well, Ramona thought, but I thought those two kind of stuck out for me in college. And then of course,
Yeah.
so in that genre. What about you, Shan?
No, pass.
I was gonna say I have one more actually. I felt like Floyd Central wasn't their large palm this year. I felt what it deserved a little bit more justice. I thought that routine flowed so well, and um, I don't remember if it went a themey direction, but I remember watching it and it just tied in so well with the music to me, visually, creatively, formation wise, pathway wise. So that's another one for me, I would have to say. Um, I have
That
a
division was steep though, Kyle. Like
large
when
palm was
Floyd
crazy.
came out, they were amazing. But yeah,
Yeah,
like the top 10 teams, I was blown
Yeah.
away.
I agree
They
with
were
you.
in a tough
Yeah.
category this year.
I agree with
Yeah.
you. Let's okay, this one's a little bit more of a longer question. It's coming from Maddie Grun. She's a choreographer. I feel like we all know Miss Maddie over there. Okay, so she said, what means more to a judge? Is it the artistry of palm itself, or are we steering more into a storytelling kind of palm? Example like Minnesota and Ohio. I have so many coaches come to me and want music to tell more of a story, which is different than palm even a couple years ago. I feel like palm is a lot more deeper than high V's and low V's, which I do feel like we kind of touched on a little bit more, but that the difference between Minnesota and Ohio is very relevant. You know, Ohio went more of the storytelling direction, which me as someone who loves to comment on routines was having a thrill out of that routine. And then Minnesota felt very traditional and Minnesota. So what would you guys add on to that one?
Again, I'm using the score sheet as a tool. So I can tell you what I prefer. I
Yeah.
prefer to be entertained and I prefer to have something memorable, authentic, all of the above. Some of my favorite routines didn't come in for second or third. So to
Me
kind
too.
of bank or to craft your choreography about what judges want, it makes me I get kind of a little bit of
Yeah.
the icks saying because I don't want them to choreograph for me. They need to choreograph for their team and what's in the best
Mm,
interest of the team.
mm.
So, do I love a good story? Yes, but I'm like Shan, I wasn't the person who said that, by the way. But I'm like I don't need to learn a life lesson through palm work. Where we can make
Yeah.
it just it can stand on its own by being highly entertaining and all of the above. Use
Yeah.
craft it to the score sheet, not to what you think a judge likes more story versus theme versus athletic. If it hits, it hits in my
Yeah.
mind. So
Yeah. Well, and just this is for all the choreographers out there, coaches, everybody, because you know it's the season. We're starting to learn our routines here pretty soon. Um, None of that, all of that is irrelevant, honestly, Kyle. As a judge, you are sitting there focusing on so many things. You're halfway through and you're like, oh, crap, this is a Las Vegas theme. Like, you're not focused on that. You're so focused on what you're supposed to be looking at with the score sheet. You're uber focused, I should say, that you are just like so, like, you're so tense and intense about the things you're supposed to be looking at that all of that goes to the wayside. Just bring an elite routine. Make sure that every choice you make for that routine is intentional. Every
Yeah.
movement, every transition, everything has a purpose. Everything. If two girls go off and, I keep saying girls, if two dancers go off and do a duo, whatever, um, just everything has to be musically in has that musical intent. Every movement has purpose. Every performer's committed. Every transition's alive. Every musical moment understood. Like that is what people should be worried about, and not what kind of theme we should do or what kind of music we should do. Make it entertaining. You got to have songs that are recognizable. And what I mean by that is you can't put this techno beat behind everything where you can't even draw out the song. All of your musical intention is gone at that point.
Mhm.
So I think people are really focusing on the wrong things.
Yeah.
The teams that are winning, I didn't even know Minnesota had a theme of any sorts. I just
Yeah.
loved the movement and the cohesion of their routine from
Yeah.
beginning to end. I loved the cohesion of it. Everything was so intentional, and I could breathe.
Yeah.
Does
No,
that
I
sound
agree.
weird?
No, I
But
agree. It's funny actually. I didn't even know last year Ohio had a theme until we recorded our Palm episode.
yeah,
And I don't remember if it was one of you, you were like, "Oh, I loved Ohio's like what they did with their music and their theme." And I was like, "Theme? Well, there was no theme." Then I went
yeah,
back and I rewatched it and I started connecting the dots and I was like, "Actually, it was very creative. I didn't even
yeah.
notice." All right, one
Well, see,
more.
and that's a
Go
judge's
ahead.
perspective right there, Kyle. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, they did a theme because you're so focused on something
the same
else.
with their
Like
Yeah.
they're thinking about the wrong
yeah,
thing
the
too
same with
much.
their jazz. It took me the third time that I saw it this year because I never saw
Mhm.
the Swan movie thing. You know, the Black
Yeah.
Swan. I never saw
Yeah.
it, and it took me
Me
the
neither.
third time, but I wouldn't have scored it one iota different in terms of how well it was. I
Yeah.
understood it.
Yeah,
I understood you didn't. That's when you know you hit the jackpot. That you don't have to know the theme. You know, in
Mhm.
all the years that I've never seen Harry Potter. I don't know. When Hunger Games first came out, people were doing a lot of I never knew what it was, but if it's still a great routine, it should stand on its own. The judge, if you have, if if they do it with the idea that the judges even have to know, then you're in a little bit of trouble because they won't get the nuance. So have it tell its own unique story. They're going that way.
Absolutely. All right, last one. This one comes from Marissa. She's the head coach at Foothill Dance here in California, OC. I love this. I love how she said this first part. She said, in excruciating detail.
Oh, no.
She came to the right place. In excruciating detail, what would make you give a 10 for staging? Different opening, form, and continuous movement of the stage, or how the stage is covered at all times? I feel like it's been all over the place this past season.
A 10 in staging. Staging is one of the few subcaptions that in my 50-year career that I've given 10s in, because there's been some teams through.
Wow.
Because I
Okay.
can remember, it's funny when all of us judges get together, we talk about who did we give 10s to, and I can remember because I think I can only count maybe a dozen times that I've given a 10. And it doesn't mean
Wow.
I'm getting very, very high scores in a lot of things, but a 10 to
Yeah.
me isn't an either or in terms of use of the entire performing surface. It's, could you do anything different? Could there have been anything added on to create more visuals to tell the greater story? Though I'm thinking of the team right now. Unfortunately, it's not a POM team. It was actually a jazz routine back in Illinois, the team called Neuqua Valley. And I think the name of the song, I even forget the name of the song, was The Road That Leads Me to You, right? And so every form was a manifestation of transportation, going, the road, the path, and there wasn't. So when I
Wow.
sat down to think about it, and I got heat on it because they were the first team out in finals. And the head judge at the time came and tapped me on the shoulder and said,
Oh,
you can't give
wow.
them and I said, why not? and the thinking was, oh, well, wonder if somebody does better. I said, if somebody does better, then I'll give them a 10 as well. But if I can't tell them one thing that they could have done better in their staging, then they should get the 10. How am I to argue with it if they couldn't have done anything else? They have explored
Wow.
every avenue, with a pun, with the path, then they're deserving of the 10. So do I hand a lot of 10s out? No. But when they're warranted, absolutely. And so it's not an either or. Should you use as much of the performing surfaces? Yeah. I mean, try. Shan, what do you think?
Yeah.
Was that detailed?
So Kyle, this is a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was beautiful.
No, this is a good question because I sit back to, again, pulling in Ohio State 2 years ago, their very first formation that they started off with, within a 4 count, they had changed formation. It was the most epic beginning I had seen. Now, if you think about it, had they stayed there the rest of the routine, it would have not been great. So you kind of have to do both, right? Like to get a 10 in staging, give us something we haven't seen before that's just like, whoa, that was really well thought out, really well thought through, and really intentional. And then, yeah, you have to use your floor, because I can say that we've had some really good teams that we've had to really not give many points in staging because they stay right there on center stage. We're not saying run around and be chaotic, but do use your floor. That's what it's there for, right?
Yep.
But that doesn't mean, again, like you have to run the back to the front and all over the place. You can get really creative within just a standard formation like Ohio State did. So that's a tough question. Marissa, right? Is that who it was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Marissa, that's a tough question because to me, you have to have both.
Yeah, no kidding. I agree. That is all I have for you guys. Thank you for coming back on and chatting.
Yes.
Hang on, give me 1 second. I don't know if we lost Ramona. Ramona, are you there? We did. We did.
You and I, Kyle. Just
yeah,
you and
it's just
I.
us two. That's fine. I'm actually going to, because it is uploading, I'm just going to stop it really quick, stop the recording.
Okay. And that is our show for today. Before you go, make sure you head over to www.nocountsgiven.com for all things dance-related news, updates, interviews, and industry conversations.
While you're there, subscribe to our newsletter so you can be the first to know what's happening in the dance world. From new episodes to hot topics, routine highlights, and everything No Counts Given is covering next. Thank you so much for listening, for watching, and for being part of this community. We'll see you next week for another episode of the No Counts Given podcast with Kyle Rush.